Hello guys, welcome to Online Web Tutor presented by Profotech team. I am Sanjay. We are learning CodeIgniter version 3 HMVC tutorial for beginners. This is our part number 20. Now inside this video session guys, we are going to save our updated data to our database table. If I back to browser, now so far as we can see that this is the listing we had developed. Now in the last video we had made this edit button as the functional. Now if we click on this third number row on this edit button, now as we can see that we have successfully populated about the existing data about this book 3 informations. But right now when we update any information inside any of the input boxes, when we click on submit, then these informations actually will not be saved inside our database table. So inside this video we are going to take about the updated data from this form and save to our table. If I back to editor, now inside this editor, this is our create book page. So actually this time we want about book data. So inside this, first thing first, actually we have to set our action parameter for this form tag. So back to routes, or let's say that route book. Here we are going to submit our, let's say edit data, and here let's say book controller, and inside this let's say save underscore edit underscore data. Now if I copy this method name, go to our book controller, now let's say that public function, and this is our method name. By the help of this method, actually we are going to submit our updated data and save to our table. So back to routes.php, and if I copy the route name back to our view file and pasting here inside this action attribute, so it should be echo something site URL, and inside the single quotes this is our route name. Now inside this form tag, let's check about all the parameters, and I think that all we have done properly inside this form tag. So this is all about name, author, publication and the description. Now we are ready to submit our form data. So back to book controller, now let's say that data equal to, here I'm going to use call this input and post. So for now let's say echo, I am to dump all the data to the output screen, so PRE and here let's say print r and something data variable. So if we save all these changes, back to browser, reload this page once, and let's say book 3 updated, author 3 updated. So after updating all these informations, if we press submit button, now this is the updated data. Now we have to save this data to our table. So back to editor, now get rid of these two lines. Now let's say that firstly we are going to use called the form validation library. Here why we are using that, to check about the required attributes that we need all the values to be filled. So let's say that this already we have loaded about the form validation library inside this controller. If you go at the top, now as we can see that we have loaded inside this construct function. Now we can use it. So form validation, let's say set underscore rules. Now inside the first parameter, actually we need about the name attribute. So for the name field we have txt name, so copy that, pasting it here. Now in the second, let's say name, and the third we have to pass the rules name. So we want that the required field. And also if we check about the rules, what we have written inside the insertion means first time creation. So these are the rules actually we had defined. So why not actually we need to copy all these 3 lines back to our submit edit data and replace with this. Now this is our set rules for the txt name, txt author and the txt publication. Now inside these three fields actually we have set our validation rules, something that these fields are required, and for the first two fields actually the maximum length should be 50 characters, but for the publication actually we have set about maximum length is about 100 characters. Now finally if I press enter here, so let's say if something this form validation, and we have a run method which basically runs this form data and it will check with a false value. It means that suppose return value of this run method is false, it means that we have some error inside this form validation. Else we have successfully submitted our data, so let's say submitted successfully form data, and here it means we have some error, and also we are going to use called the triple equal to. What basically this triple equal to indicates, it indicates that we are going to compare with the value as well as the data type of this return value. So now we are ready to go to submit our data. So firstly let's say that we have some error, so inside that condition, so let's say this, and we are going to redirect on the show edit book, or let's say this load view, and inside this we have to pass the view file name, so this is the view file name, and also we want that for pointing or for showing this view file actually we need about the data. So why not actually we are going to use this method, because the same procedure we have to repeat inside this false method or inside this if block. So get rid of that, and let's say that show edit book. I am to remove this code from here. Only we have to pass about the book ID inside this show edit book. So inside show book data also one more parameter we want, and this is about the book ID. So here let's say that input type, it should be hidden, let's say name equal to, it should be txt book ID, and the value equal to PHP, and it should be echo book, and this is the book variable actually we are passing from this show edit book method. So now inside this book variable we have also a key, something called ID, which basically contains about the book ID. So only we have to receive this txt book ID inside this book controller, and let's say that here we have something book underscore ID equal to data, and inside this data variable this is our txt book ID. Why this is data? Because inside this data actually we are collecting all the post data, so we have to pass this book ID inside this show edit book method. Now for this else block, it means that we have successfully passed all the data. So firstly if we save all these changes, go to browser and check about the if functionality. So back to browser, go here, reload this page once. Now let's say that we are going to make about the name field and the author field empty, and pressing submit button. Now as you can see that we have some error. This is why, because we have used the form validation library, and remember after getting any error actually we are redirecting on the same, so that's why actually it populating about the old data. It means these data actually coming from our database. So successfully our if block is working fine. Now this time we are going to set our else block. So let's say that after getting all the successful data, firstly let's say updated data array. So inside this array actually we are going to make something called book underscore name, and for this we have key inside this data variable, and something inside this we have with the name called txt name. So go here for the name attribute of this txt name, so copy, pasting it here. now 4 times, and next we have to take about the value of the author, so copy that. So let's say book underscore author, this is txt author. Next we have to copy about the txt publication, so copy, let's say book underscore publication, this is all about our publication key. And finally we need to pass about our description. So if I copy this name attribute, go here, this is for the txt description. So all we have done about collecting updated data. Now inside this if block, and to make a method called book model, let's say update underscore book information. Now inside this, firstly I'm to pass about the book ID, this is the book ID actually we are collecting, and the next let's say updated data, and it will returns true or false value. So while getting true value, it means data saved successfully. Here let's say failed to save data. Now only here we have to make about this method inside this book controller, book model. So copy, go to model, and let's say that public function, this is our method name. Now inside here we want two parameters, firstly about ID, and second we have data on the behalf of the first parameter about the ID. So after getting book ID, we are updating the informations of this ID. So let's say that inside this public function method name, let's say this db, let's say where, and inside this where condition we want about the ID equal to ID, and finally we have to update our information, so db, and we have an update method. Now inside this update method, actually we have to update dbl books table and the data we are getting inside this data variable. And finally, so I'm going to return the return value of this update method. So here the query is generated something update dbl books, let's say set column name equal to value, and this will repeat about 3 times or 4 times because all the information is actually we are getting inside this data variable. And finally we have where condition where id equal to the id actually we are passing inside this method. So if we save all these changes back to our book controller, now let's say finally we have to set our session messages according to the return value. So for this if block, it means we have successfully saved our data. So this session, let's say set underscore flash data, inside this success variable or success key, let's say book data updated successfully. Else, for this else block we have some error messages. So session, let's say set flash data, and inside this let's say we have an error key, and inside this let's say failed to update book data. And finally we have to return on our view file. So let's redirect. Inside this redirect, actually we're going to redirect on something called book edit and any. So copy this route name, pasting it here. Now here instead of any means placeholder, and to pass about book underscore id. So if we save all these changes back to browser, now go back, reload this page. Now let's say that instead of book 3, let's say 301, author 301, all we are going to update here. So all the informations are now updated. So if we press submit button, now here we have some error and something txt description, and this is because inside our table actually for our description, the key actually we are using inside the structure. This is about book underscore description. So go to our here, and this is something actually the key mismatch. Again back to browser, reload this page. Let's say book 30101. It should be author 301 and finally for the description 301. Now if I pressing submit, now book data updated successfully. Again back to table, go to browse, scroll to top, and as we can see that for this ID number 6 we have updated all the informations. Now again go here, click on the listings. Now inside this listing we have now updated data. So successfully guys, inside this video actually we have saved our updated data to our database table. So inside this video, if you have any doubt, then please drop your comment. I will give my reply as soon as possible. So for this video session guys, thank you for watching and have a great day.